Hi, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mr. Green again. This is another in my lessons on in Unit 1. We're dealing with, for Algebra 1, I'm sorry, in Unit 1, we're dealing with variables today. So I gave you a little bit of this the other day when we were talking about in general, in the foundation stuff. But a variable is a symbol. It's usually a letter, and it stands for a number or a set of numbers. It is nothing to be scared of. They are really quite simple. Okay, so let's talk about variables just a little bit here. When we start looking at variables, one of the things that comes up is the thought of having terms. Terms are simply when I put something down with a plus sign or a minus sign in between them. Okay? A plus sign, a minus sign, or an equal sign in between them. Here I've got 3x, I've got 4y, and I've got 6. In this particular situation, we're going to say that we've got two terms. The 3x is one term, the 4y is another term. I cannot combine x's and y's. Okay? It's like having dogs and cats in the same house. You don't combine them together. You don't wind up with little dog cats running around all over the place. They don't mix together. Okay? So that's the way it is with variables. If they're not the same variable, that means they represent something different and you don't want to add them together. For example, the x in this situation might represent dogs and the y represents cats. And you don't want to add them together because you're not looking for animals in this situation. You're looking for dogs and cats, and there's a reason why you have them separated. Okay? So, the other thing that comes up a lot is the thought of a constant. A constant would be this 6 out here at the end. Okay? It doesn't have a variable associated with it at all. So it is considered a constant. It stays the same. It never changes no matter what value we put in for the variable. Okay? Factors. Factors are things that something can break down into. So if we look at 3x, 3x has two factors. It has a factor of 3 and a factor of x. Those are being multiplied together in 3x. And when we say, well, what do you multiply together to get 3x? You multiply a 3 times an x. Those would be the two factors involved in it. So you can always factor these things if you see a term out there. It should always be factorable into at least 1 times the variable. Okay? One of the things that comes up there is one of those factors is going to be the coefficient. A coefficient is the number that is in front of the variable. So if I wrote down there 9m, the m is the variable, the 9 is the coefficient. This is a term, a single term, okay? And it is broken down into the factors of 9 times m. Now I want you to notice, in a lot of younger grades, a lot of times you might have written this as 9 times m. But in algebra, we want to avoid doing this because some people think that might be a variable sometimes, and it gets confusing. So we started several years ago doing this, 9 dot m. And the dot simply meant multiplied. You multiplied the two together that way. Well, yes, it does, but we want to get away from doing this dot because it just means extra work to write it down. And so 9m, that means they're being multiplied together. When you see a number and a variable written next to each other, they're being multiplied. Okay? So let's do some evaluating of expressions. The term evaluate means to find the value of it. So we're going to find the value of these expressions. So when you're doing this, it says be sure to use parentheses when substituting values in place of variables. So this one says 2x plus 3 where x is equal to 3. What they want you to do is they want you to replace this x with this number 3. So what they're doing is they write 2 and then they put parenthesis 3 parenthesis. That's showing that I've put this 3 in where the x was. Okay? Plus 3 at the end. So 2 times 3, that's 6, plus 3 is 9. So that would be a good way of doing it. This would be a bad example of it over here, where they just wrote down the 2 and the 3 and they did it like they were doing a variable without a multiply or anything else. But if you put parentheses around that 3, it would be a good example. But you can see that 23 plus 3 is 26. This becomes confusing. You didn't know to multiply them together. So you got to be real careful with that one. So let's do some quick evaluations here and see if we can't do several of them together. So here we're wanting to put 6 into this expression. So we're going to say 5 parenthesis 6 plus 4. Well, 5 times 6 is 30, plus 4 is 30, plus 4 is 34. Okay, let's come over here to this one. It says z or y squared divided by z. For y equals 6 and z equals 9. So I'm going to say parenthesis 6 parenthesis squared divided by 9. Well, 6 squared is 36 divided by 9. 36 divided by 9 is 4. You guys see how I'm doing that? Okay. It says AB, for A is equal to 2/3 and B equals to 5/6. Fractions. I know. Fractions are the F word in mathematics, but we will get past this, okay? So let's see here. I'm going to put parenthesis 2/3. That was the A, divided by parenthesis 5/6. Now, I know that I'm dividing here, and I'm dividing fractions, and when I divide fractions, I have a trick for doing that. I invert and multiply the second one. So I'm going to say 2/3, and keep my parentheses around it, times 6/5. And you see how I did put that time sign in there that time. The reason I did that was because I'm trying to show I'm going from division to multiplication so that I could do that. Now when I multiply these things together, I'm going to get 12/15, and that reduces down to let's see here, 4/5. So that would be my final answer. Okay, so let's try number 12 over here. So 2d minus 3 divided by 5 for d is equal to 9. So I'm going to say 2 times 9 minus 3 divided by 5. Well, implied in fractions like this is that the whole top would be in parentheses, because you do the numerator first, then the denominator. You wouldn't try to divide this before you did the subtracting 3. You have to figure out the numerator first. So in this situation, 2 times 9 is 18 minus 3, and keep that parenthesis around it, divided by 5. And 18 minus 3 is 15 divided by 5, and that's going to work out to be 3. Final answer. Okay? So let's try just a couple more down here. We've got p times negative 2r. So that's going to be p times negative 2 parenthesis, and I'm going to use a negative 3 in there for r, and put my 2 sets of parentheses. So when I go through and try to do this, I'm sorry, r is negative 4, and this one up here would be a negative 3. Okay, so let's see here. Inner ones first. Let's see, I got negative 3, negative 2, negative 4. I've got 3 negative signs there, so there's going to be a negative value when I get done here. 3 times 2 is 6, times 4 is 24. Okay, let's try number B here. So we're going to have negative 4 minus 3 times negative 3. Well, 3 times negative 3 is 9, negative 9. So I got 4 minus negative 9. See, I've got 2 negative signs here. Those will become positives. So I've got negative 4 plus 9, so that's going to be a 5, positive 5. Last one on our list, 4 times negative 3 squared divided by 2 times negative 4. Well, let's do the exponent first. Negative 3 squared is going to be a 9. It's going to be 4 times 9 divided by 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. Okay? So 4 times 9 is 36 divided by 8. 36 divided by 8 is going to be 4.5. So it's going to be a negative 4.5. Okay? Now, you need to know how to evaluate these things. You're going to be sticking values into expressions and equations for a long time. So you need to make certain you know how to do these. There's several problems that you're going to be working in the offline work. Make certain you do them. And if you have any questions, bring them to the Class Connect or to the tutoring session so that we can work through them. Okay? Look forward to seeing you next time.